Stop! Sure you want the rest of it?
Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast. Dirty Harry Minute Podcast.
Every penny's worth.
Welcome back to Dirty Harry Minute, the only podcast in the world to review every minute of that 1971 Warner Brothers classic, Dirty Harry. I'm one of your hosts, John, and I'm joined by usual co-host, Tim.
Hi.
Thanks for coming back, Tim.
No problem.
And Trent.
Hello there.
And our recurring guest, Karen. Hello, Karen.
Hello.
Pleased to be here again.
I'm overjoyed.
Thank you. We will proceed. We are very lucky to be joined by one part of Escape from New York Minute, a man who hates pineapple on his pizza. He also loves a little bit Flash Gordon. We have Eric Deutsch. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing very well. Thanks for having me on, everyone.
You're welcome. Are you a big Dirty Harry fan?
I wouldn't say a big fan. I was thinking about this when I was getting ready to come on your show, and I've seen Dirty Harry, I've seen Magnum Force. I could have sworn that I saw the Deadpool, but in looking through my OCD-based Excel sheet I keep of every movie I've ever watched, the Deadpool is not in there, and so I guess I have a fake memory of watching the Deadpool. So I guess I've only seen Dirty Harry and Magnum Force, but I did like them, though.
Let's be honest, when you talk about the Deadpool, you just remember the remote control car, right?
I remember him holding up the spear gun or something.
Yeah.
They kept on looking for new ones, kept on looking for new ways to top a 44 mag.
Well done. You saw the low point of the Dirty Harry series.
Liam Neeson with a bad ponytail and Jim Carrey, welcome to the jungle, at the start.
Well, Eric, both our movies have our heroes with very unrealistically large, inoperable guns.
Whew, I was wondering where that was going.
Well, many thanks for joining us, Eric. Today we are reviewing minute 97. The minute begins with Harry explaining, "Do I feel lucky?" and ends with Harry looking down at a fake police badge obtained from the dark web because he's not a real police officer. What did you think of this minute, Eric?
I feel honored to get the death of the main villain as my 1 minute here. It's a good minute because I like how Andrew Robinson, right? That's his name?
Yeah.
Yep.
Andy to his friends.
He really does a good job of like with just his facial expression of just like he can't believe that he's been beaten. You know, he's really stunned that that's like, you know, he's considered himself invincible, and it's like he's been beaten by Dirty Harry, and he can't believe it. You know, he thought he was so great, and he's not as great as Dirty Harry.
Are you saying he's a little bit like Romero when he goes, and Harry Dean Stanton stabs him?
Yes, I could see that sound coming out of Scorpio, actually.
I think that's a good point because Scorpio's ego must be pretty healthy for him to think he can do all this and outsmart Dirty Harry. So, like, he's so utterly creepy. So I think Eric's on the money.
Yeah. I mean, they're both good. They're both good shooters, would you say, Tim? I mean, Scorpio is a sniper. He has precision on his in his favor, but Harry's more of a, I don't know, gets the real job done.
That's right. If he was in a video game, Scorpio would have 1 rating on his close combat skills.
Hey, Karen, do you think back at the quarry, like, the workers are all looking like placing bets, like, oh, who's going to win? Oh, I'm on the weirdo with the cardigan, loser, and I'm with this weird guy in a poo-stained jacket.
Well, I think the whole quarry is interesting. It's operating, yet we have one staff member that we see. I was wondering if it was a bit of a union situation and it was so hot that they were all allowed to go home, although perhaps they knew there was a killing coming on, so they ran. Of course, you know, the little kid, he's a bit naughty just fishing there in the poisoned quarry water. and misses death by a couple of millimetres. The quarry is just so odd and unusual. I don't know, you can really smell and taste the dust though. Their clothes get dusty.
It's such a good contrast, like they're outside the city limits and you have the
Yes.
rustic wood, and it contrasts really well with the delicious wooden panelling of the mayor's office.
Yes.
Civilization, refined, polish, civilized purportedly.
I wonder, sorry to interrupt, that's very rude of me, keep going.
No, that's all I was going to say. So, I mean, it's obviously a throwback to the Western. Do you think, Eric? We're supposed to think this is like a showdown in the Old West?
Sure. I mean, you got Clint Eastwood. You have to have that, right? It absolutely is. And it's interesting, too, because at first you see they show Scorpio's hand, and he actually moves his hand away from the gun, like he's not going to try it. He's not feeling lucky. But then when Harry calls him a punk, he's basically, it's like he's saying, he's not granting him the status of being anything more. In Harry's eyes, he's a punk just like anyone else. I don't care that you've had this reign of terror or anything like that. And Scorpio hears him called a punk, and that changes the attitude. He's going to say, oh, all right, now I feel lucky. How dare I'm not a punk, I'm Scorpio, and so he goes for the gun.
I guess back before Sid Vicious, punk was just the old meaning of a, so to speak, the feminized character in prison, right? The one that would be lower on the pecking order, like a bit of a...
It was kind of like dickhead in the early 70s.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was. It was like, you're a dickhead, you're a punk. What are you doing here, punk?
Look at this punk. What's he doing?
Yeah. Also, look at their hands. Like, Scorpio has such girl hands. And I can say that because I am a girl. And look at that hand. Like, look at Clint's hand. That is a very masculine hand.
Has anyone seen Heath Ledger in The Joker, the scene where he's in the lockup and you see the makeup man didn't touch his hands? He just looks like regular hands compared to the rest of his body.
That's a mistake. Can I just go back to the quarry for a second?
Mm-hmm.
So, the mayor's office, yes, there's that 1970s wood panelling.
Delicious.
But there's all that stone on the facade.
Yeah, that's
Where
right.
did the stone come from? The quarry. See what an arts degree can do for you?
Eric, do you like... The line is so present in pop culture now. It's a parody. It's a joke. Previous guests talk about how Jim Carrey uses it in the Mask. Do you like the line here when you see it in its original incantation?
Yes, I do. I mean, I knew the line before I had ever seen any of the Dirty Harry movies. It's one of the most famous lines in movie history. And so when I did see Dirty Harry for the first time, obviously I was anticipating, when's he going to say it? But I liked it. I wasn't like, oh, that's it. Oh, okay. It worked very well. I do like the line, yeah.
A reviewer quoted, they said, quote, Harry is an exterminator that enjoys killing bugs, but he chats to them first. Did you like that, Karen?
That was pretty good, yeah. It's kind of stating the obvious, but it's a good review.
But, Tim, do you want Scorpio to have some quippy line to respond rather than before he's goaded in? Like, didn't you want some Dennis Hopper-like line, like, quiz shark? Don't you want him to engage with Harry a bit, or is that a very modern cliche?
It would have been good if he repeated, goodbye,
Goodbye, Callahan. There's another great line in The Rookie, which Trent's a big fan of, The Rookie. The tagline for that is, there must be 100 reasons why I don't blow you away, but right now, I can't think of one. Is that lame-o compared to this, Eric?
Yes.
It's like they didn't even try.
Yeah.
I don't know, Eric. Didn't you want some line, something from Scorpio?
I mean, he does laugh, and I when he goes for the gun, and I feel like the laugh means that he thinks Harry's out of bullets, and that he's decided that there isn't one bullet left. As far as should he say something, I mean, I think I think if he said something, it almost would diminish the famous line from Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. Even in The Line of Fire, Tim, doesn't Malkovich go, "You bastard"? Or something like that.
So is that Malkovich or Kevin Spacey? Just sent. Anyway.
Ooh, good comment.
One reviewer called Scorpio a giggling, feminized monster. And we made a student remake of this at school, Eric, and we had this exchange taking place in an underpass, and so we had all the echo, which we loved.
Filmed less than a kilometre away from where we are right now.
Yeah, yes, Surrey Hills Station.
Anyway.
Oh, the underpass at Surrey Hill Station.
Yep.
Doesn't it smell great?
Yep.
I mean, the number of commuters that must do a wee on the way home from work in that underpass.
Tim, do you have any real reason to believe Scorpio usually when he's against Harry, he's scared shitless, like just a few moments ago at the Trestle Bridge. Do you really think he'd be goaded into trying? Like trying to take Harry up on this gamble? Usually he's like, don't hit me, don't hurt me, no!
But that's a bit of an act, isn't it? When he's acting like defenseless and...
He's not good with pain, but I think he has the ego to think he could outdo Dirty Harry.
Because he's a wuss usually.
Yeah, he's a wuss with his own body pain, but look how he's taking Dirty Harry on. Who would do that? I think he thinks he's pretty hot.
I think it's another example of white privilege that he's given... Harry has given Andy the opportunity, but he didn't give the African-American the chance. You know, I gots to know. The African-American had to stand up for his right to be goaded, but he just gives it here to Andy.
And uses poor language skills at the same time.
I gots to know.
I gots to know.
Also online, they call this a sump. Does anyone know that word? This little water lagoon?
Oh, like an oil sump. Yeah, so it's excess... Like, you know how you have a sump with oil. So there's a pump and a sump. And then I think, isn't the sump where the excess rubbish goes off?
Is this a word? Is this something you'd find in the Old West? I'm not familiar with this word.
I think you
Sump.
mean, is it sumpin? You'd find it. Sorry.
The Old West, as in Western suburbs, or...
The Old
You
West.
still see them around Footscray and Yarraville. So lots of sumps there.
I just came across that word, Eric. It says, Scorpio's body sinks into a sump like a slaughtered horror movie monster. Is that a bit of a reach? Do you see it? This is like a horror, like a B-grade horror exploitation end to Scorpio?
Yeah, I mean, a bit of a stretch. I mean, I guess there is the one shot where when he's floating in the water and his eyes still kind of, like his head kind of tilts back and the eyes sort of tilt back in the head. But, I mean, that's a bit of a stretch.
I think it's because Eric's tough. Remember when I first met you, I said that as a child, that last scene of him floating off into the water has never left me. It absolutely horrified me as a child. And I do have a very small appetite for gore, but it really horrifies me.
When you see his body floating there, for some reason it's always reminded me in The Simpsons, the Mr. Simpson, your silence only incriminates you further, the sexual harassment episode, and they sort of freeze frame on Homer going... Ugh.
His jaws kind of hanging open and, yeah.
Eric, in your movie, it's very unsatisfying insofar as the Duke isn't... I mean, the State's the bad guy in your movie, isn't it? Like, the Duke's not really the bad guy, but insofar as he is... Donald Pleasance gets the pleasure of shooting him in the end, you know, you're a number one. Whereas Snake doesn't get that. All he gets is just ripping up a tape at the end. He doesn't really have the euphoric moment of dispatching with the bad guy as such, does he?
Yeah, that's true. We talked a lot on our show about how while the Duke is the main bad guy in the sense of, like, the one that's trying to stop them from getting out, but yeah, it's really more the government and the countdown clock is really the main antagonist of the movie. In the context of the movie, the president blowing the Duke away works very well, but yeah, there is something to be said for, and we actually just as we're recording this, we just recorded for our show the final fight between Snake and the Duke before the president blows him away, and we were talking about how it lasts like 10 seconds. I mean, Snake jumps on the Duke's back, punches him twice, and then runs away, and that's the final battle between the main hero and quote-unquote the main villain of the movie. So there was something a bit unsatisfying about that, yeah.
Yeah, Scorpio is sort of like a combination of seven parts Romero plus a bit of the President plus a bit of the Duke.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of Romero there, sure.
And I like how both of our movies don't shoehorn in any romance. You know, you've at the chock full of nuts, you think, oh, maybe he's going to go down and find a counterpart, but no, he doesn't. And
Played by Russell's real life wife at the time.
Yes, that's right.
Susan Hubley, yep.
I had a few notes here. It's that your character Snake, he has literally the eye patch on, right? To
Right.
show that he's singularly, he's got one objective, you know, to get out of there alive, do his mission. He doesn't interject to help out the woman in the basement or whatever. He's got one eyes for the prize, just like our Harry does, yeah. And they're both these movies they feel really action films, but they're not really in a way. Like, it has their set pieces and the action comes quick and is satisfying, but they're not straightforward. I don't know, they're not straightforward genre pieces. They have a bit of everything. You've, science fiction on yours, a horror movie, men on a mission type things. Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting. My whole life I'd always viewed Escape from New York as an action movie, and it wasn't until I started doing it minute by minute that it occurred to me how many long stretches there are where there is no action, and there's some real dialogue-heavy sequences, and there's some Snake just kind of walking around. I mean, there's one whole minute where he's basically sitting in a chair smoking a cigarette, just kind of pondering the crappy situation he's in. And yeah, so then, the finale is a car chase, and there is some gunplay, and there's the big fight that he has with the gigantic freak in the arena. But
Yeah.
it's much less actiony watching it minute by minute than it is watching it as a whole.
I was thinking recently about Escape from New York, and I don't know why this one moment dropped into my head. I think it's the next morning, and there's a shot of a park. Am I remembering this correctly? I think before...
Airdropping something, aren't they?
Airdropping something?
Yes.
Yeah, I seem to remember that being a really long shot and loving it, and the sort of mood and the lighting and everything. But I was thinking, when I heard about your minute-by-minute program, thinking, geez, that would be a struggle to talk during that one.
Yeah, that scene actually was added late in production because there were some concerns that the entire movie was taking place at night, and it's just so dark, and they felt they needed a little bit of light, and so they put that shot in. And we talked about how it was a very unnecessarily long shot. They show a helicopter flying in, and you're like, okay, this is exciting. It's a helicopter.
It's I don't know if you recall the rambling helicopter shots at the beginning of this film, but I know nothing about aviation, but I've for some reason always been a sucker for helicopter shots. Just shots of drifting up, drifting down, just
From MASH, maybe.
oh, maybe from MASH.
Karen,
Yes.
if Scorpio didn't take the bait, do you think in your heart of hearts would Harry have shot him anyway, or does he actually have some handcuffs in that poo brown suit?
Suit of his.
If Harry hadn't, if Scorpio hadn't,
No, it was bullet or nothing.
Bullet or nothing?
Yeah, it was always going to be bullet because, we know how incompetent the police are in this show, so they'd probably get him off on a technicality or consider him a nice guy or something. And, Harry was off the clock, so it's a citizen's arrest, really, or a citizen's death in this case. So, yeah, it had to be a bullet. And, there's that threat of violence the whole time. We have to have that finishing touch of, it's got to end with a bullet, a lethal bullet. So, yeah, it always had to be death. I mean, imagine if history showed us Harry saying, okay, now turn around, I'm going to put handcuffs on you. That doesn't have the same strength as, Punk.
what about after Harry fires him, puts Scorpio out of his misery? Would you have liked to have seen an 80s style quip from Harry? I was thinking of Dr. No when he goes, "That's a Smith & Wesson, and you've had your 6."
No, I think for Harry, because he's a man of few words and he looks so pretty, it's better that he just stays silent.
Eric,
Yeah.
forget the legacy and the sequels. Would you have liked Harry to have died at the end? Maybe Scorpio got around off or Harry be injured? Or do you like it as it is?
Definitely not died. I guess injured. I don't know that it makes a difference to me if he would have been, been shot like in the shoulder or the leg or something like that. But I definitely would not have wanted him to die.
I agree. But you would like to think there was some physical consequence to Harry's pursuit. He's just got a little bit of dandruff-style dusting on his lapels, Karen, and he's out of breath.
Yeah, I think poor Harry is so emotionally damaged that we don't need to give him a physical injury. He's single. He eats from that takeaway diner, and yeah, I mean, like, he might get a bit of a rotator cuff problem with all that shooting, but no, I don't. I think too many people would be devastated if he had a physical injury, because he's already the bird with the broken wing anyway, emotionally.
In the movie Seagull directed before this, Madigan, another movie where the movie's named after the main cop, the hard-boiled cop in it, played by Richard Widmark. He dies at the end.
Boom, boom. Oh, he dies, yeah. We couldn't have everyone dying in his own movies. That's a bit stupid.
Eric, you were mentioning the Deadpool before. There's a scene in that where a journalist, Patricia Clarkson, she is showing Harry a collection of her newspaper clippings, and she's got one that the headline says, "Scorpio Killer Captured," rather than killed. Now, maybe it's a bit of dark humour in the word captured can encompass kill, but do you think Scorpio's dead? What do you think in your heart of hearts? Is he really dead?
Boy, I hope so, with the way that his eyes were rolling back and his head floating in the water.
Well, looking at that shot, if that bullet didn't go through him and kill him, sipping that water in the sump there would have certainly killed him.
How would you describe the water, Trent?
I would say it's very murky and dirty.
No D word? Dank?
Yeah. I'm Australian. We don't speak like that.
Do you like the squib, Trent? I reckon it looks pretty tasteful. It's not over the top when it goes into Scorpio. Is Scorpio being sort of shot in the back, right?
Yeah, it's not sort of Peckinpah style pyrotechnics there, is it?
Have you got a Blu-ray version in front of you, Eric? There's a squib going out the back of Scorpio's back, yeah?
I've got the minute that you sent me.
Okay.
Let me watch it here real quick. Let's again. Okay, and yeah, it definitely comes out of his back. Yeah, so the bullet goes clean through him.
Not bad.
I'm lost. Can you explain?
Yeah, just on his back.
I can see it, but is it like a pretend bullet that they've had come out his back?
Yeah.
They'd have mini explosions. Probably a lot more in Escape from New York.
Wow. So this movie's just gained a bit of credibility from me that they actually tried to do something realistically. I see. As you know, I have hardly seen anything gory on screen in my life. So, yeah, that's cool.
Trent prefers the death by shooting in the dick. In Sudden Impact.
No, that was my dad that liked that. So is this the one that where he goes around? She goes shooting him in the dick. Yeah, that was his description.
I really like the way that your dad. That's what he remembers of all the things to remember. That's what. There's something triggering him there. Like, be nice to women, or that might happen to me.
Probably the latter, but yeah.
Have you seen the movie Zodiac, Eric?
No.
There's a good scene where all the cops are going to the premiere or a showing of Dirty Harry in the cinema, and Gyllenhaal comes out and he sees Mark Ruffalo, who plays the detective David Toschi, the real-life detective that Harry's based on, and the nervous Jake Gyllenhaal goes up to him and says, the killer gets shot in the chest. He gets shot in the chest. What? That's how it ends. The killer gets shot in the chest. And then the mayor comes by and sarcastically says to Mark Ruffalo, goes, Harry Callahan did a hell of a job on the case. Hell of a job. And Mark Ruffalo says, yeah, no need for due process, right? No comment on that. Oh, was there a taxi in the background, Eric?
I thought that was on your end.
No.
Oh, it could have been somebody out the front.
I thought it was a New York taxi.
I thought it was Ernest Borgnine driving between us all.
Oh, Ernest.
You gotta meet the Duke.
I am in Brooklyn, not Manhattan. Taxis don't drive around here too much.
Oh. Well, we can talk about the murder count in this movie, Karen.
Sure.
This is Harry's really only confirmed kill in the movie. If you can think he doesn't really kill anyone else, he saves a lot more lives.
Well, and I think that's Harry all over. Deep down, he's a good person. I mean, who can be cross at him for killing Scorpio? And I agree with the lack of due process. Scorpio wasn't helping anyone. He was a pimple on society. So yeah, I think get rid of him. Yeah, there's a pretty high death count for a short movie though, isn't there?
There's 4, I believe.
So
There's Sandra Benson.
crochet bikini.
Yep. That's her name in the novelisation. Sandra Benson. There's poor Charlie Russell, 2. There's the main girl, unfortunately, Anne-Marie Deacon, number 3.
Charlie Russell's didn't know what hit him. Is that...
He's only 10 years old.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, the boy. Yep.
Yeah, boy. So yeah.
Number 4 was Officer Collins. Never knew what hit him.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Then I'm never quite clear on this, Eric. Was the Catholic priest killed or not? I never quite understood that. The machine gun fire we heard earlier in the movie. Officer Collins is killed, but I don't know if the decoy padre or the padre was killed. Do you think he was killed?
I'll say no.
I think he probably got his just desserts in prison later.
I think the liquor proprietor's okay.
Yeah, he comes good. Yeah, he comes good. He's probably had that done to him so many times. Poor guy.
Trent, do you think if Scorpio had have won against Harry, do you think he'd have the guts to run limp back to the school bus and continue on his merry way?
Gosh.
How determined is he?
Nah, I reckon he would have run off in the other direction.
Yeah. What do you think, Eric?
I think he's getting out of town.
Yeah.
I think that he's if he actually had won this showdown, he is getting the hell out of there immediately.
I agree with both of you. It's just approaching the end of the minute. I'm just looking for fan fiction.
He had to die. Something just came into my head, like the feminization of Scorpio.
Is he a giggling, feminized monster?
I think he is, yet he lives in a baseball stadium.
Ah, the epitome of male masculinity.
Exactly. There's so many things that don't fit.
But he's a gardener.
Yeah.
Isn't that woman's work?
Oh, totally.
Just like George Pell is, as of this week, I believe. Speaking of... Anyway, sorry.
Gardening, is
yes,
he?
Yeah. We were just talking about Catholic priests and I got my characters confused.
Yes.
Anyway. Yes,
I hear you. Yeah, I mean, was that a deliberate opposite land or was it accidental? Because there's nothing...
Yeah.
Baseball's very masculine.
Do you like Scorpio's cardigan swimsuit? Do you think it's a good counterpart to the crochet swimsuit, the poor woman at the start of the movie?
Yeah. It's it does the job, sure.
Well, hang on, you're from Brooklyn, right? Isn't that the center of hipsters and cardigans and Harris?
Yeah, it is. It's a different part of Brooklyn than I live in, but yes, there's a section of Brooklyn called Williamsburg that is hipster central. Yes.
I've done yoga many times in Williamsburg.
I was just thinking, Eric, just to compare the two films. Can you imagine a John Carpenter version of the soundtrack of this?
Oh wow. Yeah, that would be. It would add a very much more haunting angle to Harry's life and times. And I can imagine what the theme that John Carpenter would have come up with for to be Scorpio's motif.
Yes, it's actually interesting because that electric piano bit I keep thinking about comparing to a couple of bits I think in Assault on Precinct 13.
Oh yeah,
very similar sort of motifs there.
Yeah, even just the binary, the 8-bit keyboard or whatever it is, Trent. Well, Unfortunately, it goes a little bit in that direction, but nowhere near as good as John Carpenter in Sudden Impact, where a lot of this soundtrack is done in very, very terrible.
What was his name? Lalo.
Yeah, Lalo.
Lalo.
Not his best performance there. Do you think, Karen, they should have had Scorpio sort of gargling for his life a little bit more in the shot we get of him to mirror the pain that our poor Sandra Benson went in at the start of the movie? I know it might take away from the fact that 44 is lethal, it kills you in one shot, but don't you think Harry should have been maximising pain here? I know it's a morbid
I think it might have been a bridge too far, because if Scorpio wasn't dead, the option for Harry would have been to watch him drown or just to put a whole lot of more bullets in him. If he had any more bullets, because I wasn't counting, so I don't know.
I was. It's definitely 6.
I reckon, no, I think the reason it's stuck in my mind as a horror movie is the silence, is the fact that he's shot, he's dead, he floats off in the tide of the sump, and it's just so haunting and silent, and like he's dead. He's totally dead. It's done for. There's no limping away. There's no crawling out of anywhere. He is dead. Yeah, I think it was one of the few cinematic decisions I agree with.
Eric, do you feel good when Scorpio is blasted away? Now, this movie gives us all a glimpse into how seductive vigilantism, taking the law into your own hands, can be. Do you feel good when do you find yourself having to check yourself, our euphoria, when you see him, when the bad guy's killed?
No, he's such a scumbag. He needs to die. If this character ends up, if Harry had just captured him and put him in chain and handcuffs, and then he had to go through a trial, and he ended up in jail, and he'd be allowed to probably have some big grandstanding speech that he would make that would be like 2 hours long at his sentencing hearing, which would be really obnoxious. Just save everyone the time and trouble and just blow him away.
What about you, Karen? Do you think this movie... I think I know where your opinion lies. Does it glorify a cop with an attitude problem?
It really does, but I think most people would be too apathetic to take on, like next time I see a crime, I'm going to step in and risk my own safety for him or her. Although I do find there's something to be said, older people just lose their inhibitions and just become really arrogant and start doing things.
Well, there's Eastwood at the chair with the convention.
Yeah, exactly. That's not out of the realm of possibility. I think also if you've had a long, good life and you see Scorpio down the street, I think I'd be one of those people who would think, I'm going to get him. I don't care about the law or justice or innocence until proven guilty. So, yeah, it does glorify the vigilante, but as I say, I think most people are too apathetic.
That's why Charles Bronson, it took him to about 115 years old before the first death wish. And he stopped giving him rat's ass before then.
Yeah. And also the self-righteousness of older people who just think, it's my right. I've paid taxes for 50 years. I'm going to shoot this young guy with the heroin addiction. Oh, it's my grandson.
In a few interviews, Clint said that he was really torn up inside about Pauline Kael's scathing review of this movie, and not just her, but most of the main critics, Ebert as well. That he actually took her review to a psychoanalyst to go, oh my God, am I a fascist piece of shit? Do you think that's just bravado? Do you think that's true, Karen?
I do love... I forgot that they all...
What does she mean? A fascist nightmare.
They all had analysts, didn't they, in those days?
Can you say Clint's an analyst?
No, I can't. Also, hopefully, if that was true, the analyst said, you were acting and you were paid for that job. You're not actually a cop, Clint. You're just a tall, good-looking actor. I think he was mixing up his roles there. Mind you, it would be crushing to get negative reviews. No one could get 100% good reviews.
Eric, Robert Ebert said he described Harry Callahan as, quote, a savage forced to follow the rules of society. That's Snake Plissken, isn't it, as well?
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, the difference is that Snake doesn't follow the rules of society. They're trying to force him to follow the rules of society, and he resists that, and he's able to not. But he definitely is a savage.
That's the twist, I guess. Snake, insofar as Snake has politics, he doesn't want a fascist state, right? Whereas Harry, you think, Harry would like more rights against the criminals.
Yeah, I mean, Snake doesn't give a shit. Snake is all about living for the next minute. He's all about just, what do I got to do now to survive? I'll worry about anything else later. He just doesn't care.
Yeah. Whew. Karen, what do you think? What do you think Harry's going to do now? Is he really quitting? I mean, he hasn't thrown anything yet, is he? But
if it were modern day times, he would become security guard outside a club and bash people for no reason, because that's where old cops go. I think he's going to go back to his diner and have a couple of hot dogs. He might look up Norma, because Chico's still in rehab. Look up Norma, invite her out on a date, but he's rusty. He's got no experience, with dates in modern day times since his wife passed away. He's going to reassess. I actually think the Force will realise they can't do without him, and they'll invite him back, maybe as a consultant.
They need him.
They
yeah.
need him. We can't live without you, Harry, even though you play by your own rules. I think, maybe the mayor and the police inspector will be dead before long anyway, because they don't look like they have a pulse, either of them.
In the Bollywood remake Kun Kun, there's no equivalent scene where he reflects on what he's had to do, because he walks away literally with the equivalent of the fishing boy or girl. He carries her away. No credit. There's even no credits at the end of that movie. They don't even get anyone. But there's no sort of reflection about what he's been forced to do.
Right.
Kun Kun's that's early 80s, isn't it? It's like
73.
Really? So it was that
2 years
soon after?
2 years after this, yeah. Eric, this is the movie the Bollywood remade. Mercifully, there's only 2 or 3 musical numbers, but it has Scorpio, the equivalent character, singing Bollywood numbers in the school bus with the kids rather than Row Your Boat. And Warner's promptly sued them, but they evidently didn't play up that part of the script about being disillusioned with the system. He has the obstacles about rights and stuff, but it's not really a big part of the movie.
There's a Turkish remake as well, isn't there?
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
I can't remember the name of it. I do have access to it somewhere.
Kaluştep or something. Kaluşlip.
Yeah.
You guys know so much.
I have a bit of an obsession with a brief period of Turkish cinema where they weren't allowed to bring in American films.
So they just
remade them.
Yeah.
The Star Wars, E.T., Exorcist.
Perfect.
Just, yeah.
A bit like Be Kind, Rewind. Like just make up your own movie or copy.
Exactly. With the Star Wars one,
yeah.
they've got projections from the actual film in the background. And, they're meant to be in space, and suddenly in this guy's cockpit, there's a shot, big screen, of another guy in a cockpit from the actual film. They haven't cut it properly.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Eric, have you ever lost faith in something so much that you've taken a badge or a certificate or some physical object and just thrown it away in disgust? Maybe your subway card or something after Jared?
My first career out of college I was a news radio reporter, and my after a few years they cut my position, and I was really upset, and I had a few T-shirts and a jacket that with the station's name on it that I'd worn over the years, and I may or may not have taken scissors and cut some of those up.
I'm tempted to throw away. Fortunately, my DVD copy of Dirty Harry is very scratched now. That's part of the reason we were late. Sorry, Eric. I'm thinking of figuratively throwing this 2008 Warner Brothers DVD out the window because I never want to watch this movie again.
That was my comment.
Our previous guest said it's telling that Harry has the opportunity. He could, Karen, throw away the Magnum. He could throw away his gun. But that's not, I guess, a symbol.
That would be like throwing away a penis. What man would do that? There's no way he would ever throw away the gun. Plus, he's not going to deny that he did it. He's going to own it. I was off the clock. I shouldn't have killed him, but I did, and I did the world a favour. No, never would he throw that Magnum away, because he could have sold it on 1971 eBay. And but no, it had to be. He had to throw away something to do with authority, and that would be the badge.
Do you think, Eric, that Harry's just off to become Citizen Harry now? He's just off to become a vigilante, or is he going to ask Jaffe if he needs help in the hot dog store?
I don't see him becoming a vigilante. I think that either the problem is he does chuck the badge. So
yeah.
I don't think that is a split-second decision. I think that this is something that he thought about, before even the final chase began. So I don't see him operating outside the law as a non-police officer vigilante. So I think they ended up with 4 sequels, so we know he doesn't leave. But if we pretend this is the only one they made, I see him just going off and getting a new career.
Trent, do you think, in the Tim Burton's Batman, you know how Jack Nicholson as the Joker has that huge gun?
Yes, yeah.
Do you reckon that's vaguely a parody of this in general?
Maybe.
It's like really... Does he even fire it in the end, or it's just in that restaurant scene where he...
It's just in the restaurant scene. I'm trying to think if in the... I don't know. I've blocked my mind of all Batman crap. I've forgotten. Yes, I'm not too sure. But yeah, most likely. Warner Brothers link? I don't know. Clutching at straws.
Eric, how often do you visit IMDb comments or whatever exists these days for your movie about trivia and analysis of subtext? Do you dip into that sometimes?
Sure.
Because on IMDb, one of the old message boards, maybe they're grasping at straws here, but they look at Harry's police number 2211. And the straws they draw is about, when Harry finally shoots Scorpio, is he killing his alter ego? And, he's killed his double, and now that 2 of them are only one's left. And as a result of that mathematical equation, that's why he has to throw out the badge. Ugh.
That is a real stretch.
Would the 22nd of November be Scorpio?
Oh, maybe. Yeah, they are September. Oh.
I don't know. I don't know my horoscopes.
That's the arrow person.
Is it?
Centaur. I can't remember.
I don't know. I don't do numbers. I only do words.
We have a look.
Do you like that cliche, Eric, about... In so many movies we've seen it now about the bad guy and the good guy. The bad guy's taunting them, saying, like... Even in Line of the Fire is like, we have only the game, you and me, Malkovich. Or, we're the same, really. It's just that happenstance has you as the bad guy and you as the good guy and me as the bad guy. Are you sick of that cliche in movies?
Yeah, I mean, for me, even when I was a kid, I grew up reading Marvel Comics, and I always remember Dr. Doom would always say to Mr. Fantastic, we're 2 sides of the same coin, or... One of Spider-Man's villains would always say to him, we're 2 sides of the same coin. That's the phrase that I always think of. And, I mean, I know that a lot of movies, especially in comic book movies these days, they really like to have the villain be someone that's just, the dark mirror version of the good guy. I mean, sometimes it works, but a lot of times it doesn't, and they're kind of just throwing that in there just to... I think maybe to try to make things a little deeper than they really are. I mean, Bruce Wayne is not the good image of the Joker. I mean, they're nothing at all alike. So I don't see how Harry, with maybe one little twist, would have been like Scorpio. That's just not who the character is.
Yep. I agree with you 100%. Yeah. I mean, even Mad Max has it. Remember, he goes, it's only the bronze badge. Without the badge, I'm one of them out there.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, sometimes it comes off as cool, just as a throwaway line to think about. But IMDb, just relax. It's not the Book of Revelations. Not this everything good. There's something evil.
Yeah.
I miss IMDb message boards. It was cool towards the end. George Lazenby was on there, and clearly I had a bit to drink or something. I don't know. And people arguing with, like him stating facts. This is really me, and people arguing
No,
against
it's really
him, and he just kept feeding them on. It was great. If it was him.
Yeah.
How many takes do you think it took for Eastwood to go through his line here, Karen? Because they cut away to the Magnum a few times.
Yeah. Well, they need to show us his masculine hand. They do cut away. Yep. And then...
You think it was on purpose? I just think he fluffed the line, so it's like, here.
Oh, and they just keep... It's possible, that one line that he had to say. I'm always intrigued by how many takes because, of course, every time Scorpio got wet, they would have had to get him out, dry him up again, like redo the makeup, redo the whole thing. So to be, come on, Harry, get it right the first time or the second or the third.
And the director's known as a no-nonsense one-taker, Don Siegel.
Right.
So it's very dangerous when you have someone like Eastwood who loves lying.
Well,
Isn't that great?
And I do think that's why many of his lines are nonsensical. We've spoken about this in the past about when he uses some weird phrasing. I think everyone's sitting there thinking, yeah, that wasn't the line in the script, but we want to do one take, so we'll just cut it. We'll let it be. And hopefully nobody will notice. But, yeah, it could have been done a couple of times. I don't know. The quarry workers would have wanted to come back to work and get their time and a half because we now think it's Saturday morning.
What's that red mark on the gun? Maybe it's a toy gun. Look, it's how when they sell toy guns, they'd put the pink thing on it.
So it's not real. I wonder what it is.
Is that just sort of signifying more where the sight is?
Oh, maybe.
Just so it stands out.
Yeah, do Magnums have that, the hair, the crosshairs? I don't know anything about weapons, but...
I think so. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
We are not Americans. We do not know this
Yeah,
stuff.
we don't carry guns in our handbags.
I do not own a gun.
Good.
In the novelisation, it's revealed that Harry's middle name is Francis. San Francisco. He is the Guardian.
Ah, I was actually thinking Francis, Catholic name. Mm-hmm. That's why he got a bit angry that the Catholic priests were going to be targeted. Or does he not mind at all? Hard to know. How do I know that when you said Harry Francis, that didn't feel like it was new information? Is it said in the movie at all?
Not at all.
Did I get it off his ID badge?
I don't think so. I'll play it again.
Did Norma say something?
Call me Frank.
Harry Francis.
When I read that, I thought, oh, okay, that's why he's the guardian savior of San
of the
Francisco.
city. Maybe I read it on Wikipedia.
So Francis Drake.
Yeah, playing balls.
We spoke many episodes ago about the links between this and American Sniper. Have you seen that, Eric? American Sniper with Bradley Cooper?
No, I have not seen that one.
I don't think you need to. But there's a whole lot of parables, like, everyone's his wife's badgering him, like, why are you doing it? Why are you going on another duty in Iraq? And Harry doesn't have an answer to that in this version. He's like, I don't know, I really don't. But he has the stock standard answer. He keeps repeating on to his wife. He goes, they need me over there, the esprit de corps of my Marine buddies over there need me. And he says, I do it to protect you. And it's sort of like Dirty Harry has rehearsed later on what his answer is. He'll just have this rote excuse. Whereas this hero, Harry, in this movie anyway, is like, I don't know why I do this. I've got nothing else.
Wife's dead, can't cook. he eats at the diner all the time. He buys Chico donuts and hot dogs.
Speaking of Chico, he's got a brother in that movie. He also quits the Marines. He's shell shocked.
See, these are really cheap shots, aren't they? This formulaic cinema.
And Bradley, he's chewing gum as well, and he's like...
Oh, he's always chewing gum. I can't understand a word he says.
What haunts me, Karen, is the guys I couldn't save. So that's Anne-Marie Deacon. And actually, when he persuades the Marines, because he's a sniper, he goes, oh, come on, man, I want to go on patrol with you. I'm one of you. And he hits the streets of Baghdad or whatever. Mm-hmm. And he takes a phone call with his wife.
Yeah.
And the sort of flirting, talking dirty when
as you do. He suddenly starts sniping people.
Just like the Harry being distracted by boobage on the rooftop scene. The hero, you remember? Where he...
I have never heard boobage. Boobage, I'm going to use that word. That is fantastic. Yeah, I know, he's only human, isn't he? You know, I mean, he's walking along at night. He's a bit consumed by his job, but hey, naked girl in window. What's a man to do?
All this stuff, going back to the formulaic style, I mean, Mel Paso, his company, I think was formed a year before this, is that right? Yeah. Have they had any major losses at the box office? I mean, everything's sort of not outstanding, but they've certainly made their budgets back. I mean, it's pretty conveyor belt kind of production. There's something every year from them, pretty much since 1970.
Yep.
I mean, it's a pretty successful formula, hence the formulaic style. But I mean, that's why.
But people would go. It's mainstream, and people would go in droves to see those kind of movies with those characters.
Yep. There's nothing particularly ambitious about them.
Not risky at all.
Something that could be prepped up. Usually the scripts are already existing.
Yep, that's right.
Things like that. So, I've been good on them in a lot of respects. It's not a lot of shit that I would be interested in personally, but...
Can you stop with the parallels between Mike Love and Clint Eastwood, please? Don't fuck with the formula. I just want to go racing down the streets of San Fran and killing other people. Well, many thanks for joining us, Eric.
Well, you're certainly welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Do you have any final words on this minute or the movie?
The only other thing I wanted to say was I feel like, I don't know if any of your previous guests have said this or not, but with this being, Harry makes this speech twice in the movie with the, I've lost count of the bullets, et cetera.
Yes.
It reminds me of Samuel Jackson's Ezekiel 25:17 speech in Pulp Fiction that he always says before he's going to shoot somebody. It's very interesting that they have these two characters that feel it necessary to give a speech before they blow someone away, and they always make sure it's the same speech.
We were asking if Harry was perhaps a little bit either on the spectrum or this is like a Tourette's response he has. We do like, of course, that the first delivery is sort of jovial and fun and flippant because it's his old adversary since time immemorial, the criminal, right? The burglar. Sort of righteous. In a way, it's sort of common, cat and mouse. Oh, yeah, you're a bank robber. You're just taking things. You're not this new breed of psychopath that I'm not deal with. Whereas at the end, he really means it. And it's sort of the reverse of a stand-up comedian when they have a callback. Usually it's like really hammered in as a earmark early on in the stand-up set, and then later you bring back the callback as a flippant one-off. Whereas here it's the reverse. It's like flippant and then it's hard-edged at the end. But I haven't seen Pulp Fiction for a long time. Does he vary his delivery of that, Jules, at the end of the movie? Like the second time he delivers it, does he deliver it with the same force or not? I can't remember.
Well, the second time he gives it is at the end when he's in the diner and he's talking to Tim Roth's character and he's explaining why he always has said the line, and so he's getting very philosophical, and it seems like he's basically announcing he's not going to be making that speech anymore. But I mean, it's also tied into that he's going to be leaving the gangster life and it probably isn't going to be killing anybody anymore either.
I've got to check that movie out. Well, thank you very much. Trent, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure.
Listeners will have noticed that Tim had to sneak out to see his child. And Karen, thank you very much for hosting us again.
Absolute pleasure. You're welcome anytime.
All right, well, thanks for listening. Thanks, Eric. Thanks, Trent. Thanks, Karen. We'll catch you next time on
Dirty Harry Minute.